every question you ask is leading, right? And that is different from a leading question such as, am I right? That's objectively a bad question in coaching. But I think in general, because you're coming in with an agenda, whether that's conscious or not, right? But every question points the client somewhere, or at least invites them to consider something. And that's why it's so important to be careful about the power dynamics in the room. When we partner with somebody, truly partner, we meet them at eye level. We don't have more power than the other person. We might have more influence because maybe we perceive to know more about something, but then it's different power, right? So that's why I think it's important we work hard if we really want to work in partnership as coaches, or we really want to partner, work in partnership as partners, that we meet each other at eye level, because then it's less weight to a leading question. So the only non-leading question I thought is, what question do you think I should ask you next? And I always loved that question because it really offers ownership and responsibility for this person. And it comes added from a position of, you will know the better question than I will, because you know yourself better. You know everything about you. And I just met you. Even if we've been talking for a couple of hours, you will always know yourself better. Right? But at the same time, also coaches do have a lot of really good questions that the client might not be thinking of right now. So I do give credit for a coach who is very attuned with intuition or notices a pattern and is curious about that. But that means every question you're inviting somebody to consider is technically a leading question, right? So we don't want to ask leading questions as described earlier, but every question is leading somewhere, right? So if you're just holding space, you don't actually need to ask any questions. You can just offer a summary of what's just been said. Usually the client keeps talking. Right? If you hold silence rather than asking a question, the client will eventually take it somewhere. That's the essence of person-centered therapy, where, the stereotype is sometimes you sit there for an hour in silence because the client, or patient in this case, is not taking the lead. And the therapist is refusing to take the lead. So neutrality doesn't really exist. It's a myth. But we can make an effort to invite the client to take more ownership and responsibility for their process. So how we navigate that? At which point is it helping the client to grow or accelerate when we ask a question versus an invitation to slow down? It's also leading, but it comes from a place of knowing more about process. And so it's a back and forth. It is a partnership. You are both active players in this coaching game. Right? So I think it's important that we are mindful that we cannot not lead, really, that we want to be showing up as a fellow human being and not just as a space holder or container, but that those coaches who really dedicate their work to space holding and just offering a container really lean into that. And the key around that is the contracting, right? That somebody gets an experience or understands what it is that you do and that you don't do, and to what extent you're willing and able to bring yourself in. And if you have that conversation and you have it well, then you have a very good agreement, not something that you can never shake up or break out of or re-contract. But it's important for the client to understand what they get involved in so that you manage expectations and that you make sure that they work with the right person, that they get what they want. Right? And if they want something and you have a strong sense that what you have is not what they want, but it might be what they need, and it's important you tell them about that and invite them into maybe a little experiment and see how it sits, see how it feels, see if it's valuable, and then take stock and see if you want to continue or not.